I do want to mention something that I have seen on your shows, and you probably will think this is pretty interesting. So I'm actually a Marine Corps veteran.
They say once a Marine, always a Marine. Some people claim that title, even though they never made it past the finish line. They never did the Crucible. They were never officially a Marine. And we've seen this previously where people are like, I'm technically a veteran. Oh my gosh. Now, this person ended up on Caleb Hammer, which he does something called a financial audit, which essentially is him telling people you're spending too much money, you're being dumb, and it's very entertaining because the fact he uses these outrageous titles, thumbnails, whatever else, that paint these pictures of people in a weird light, but typically he has to play on something that they presented in the episode, but he just titles this one, She Sucks. Literally just generically, she's bad. And on top of that, you guys should know that before you go through this episode or you look at it, it is essentially the meeting of Jerry Springer meets Dave Ramsey Finances meets podcast type thing. And so it's a good amalgamation of all of that. But let's get to the clip that has pretty much been going viral over the past couple days since this has been uploaded, because this woman is in massive amounts of debt and inherently wants to be enabled and says that she was a Marine and deserves benefits.
But I don't receive disability yet.
Whoa, the first one ever. And again, it's not that disability is bad. It's just interesting that it's been literal like 100 people on the show or something, many of whom never went overseas or did anything wild. Why?
So I am working on trying to get something, but
okay. Well, for fuck's sake.
You can tell Caleb's already pissed. He's like, I thought I was going to meet one veteran that wasn't getting disability out here because, you know, it is one thing that I understand Caleb as a civilian is like, you must deploy to get this, but inherently, a lot of people don't understand a lot of the mishaps, accidents that do happen in the military essentially do come from training events that are not even related to combat. And a lot of people are doing desk jobs. Yes, that can happen. But you also have people that are doing manual labor, infantry type stuff. You have people that are working on flight lines. You have people that are doing special operations that get injured as well, which, by the way, you have seen headlines of this over the years that people do actually pass away from some of these inherently dangerous tasks that are being done. But what is even crazier is what this girl says next that is pissing off the entire internet.
Okay,
right
great.
Now I get medical
And what
benefits.
was your service?
What'd
you do?
Well, I was in basic training and then I got hurt. So I got out after like several months. So but I got hurt. Yeah. So that's why.
I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, go. And on go at the same exact time, you guys are going to give me your
clip straight to him asking what their financial score was. Cause obviously nothing was said on Caleb's part to say like, yeah, sounds legitimate here. But let's break this down. You have a person, while they're not getting any monetary gain, is able to then receive benefits the rest of their life for their health care, which, by the way, the average health insurance for most people can be several hundreds of dollars. So the fact this person's able to get it, even though they only did a few months in the military, is kind of crazy. The thing about it is I think people are having issues with the way this is framed because obviously there is the indoctrination of what we know as Marine Corps boot camp. Now, I am all for people being compensated what they will. Obviously, there's a reason for that. But, you know, the internet will do what the internet does, and people are outraged. This person here, Hensley Farms 9098, says, claiming to be a quotations veteran without even completing basic training is ridiculous and honestly a slap in actual veterans' faces. And obviously people are even going to go on even further and diss her and be like, you don't even claim veteran status. SFR Automotive says, not a Marine, not a veteran. And then Lee MC says, so she's not a veteran. And then Gustavo responds with, she did 3 tours to the DFAC. But obviously people did also, I guess, kind of have her back a little bit against Caleb Hammer because they thought his definition of what a veteran should receive or not receive was maybe a little bit too aggressive. This person, a Mental Reaper, says, 1, you are not a Marine Corps vet. 2, Caleb Hammer can eat a bag of D's. You know what that means. Civilians have no right to say, many of who didn't go overseas or do anything. All signed the contract. What have you done? Yeah. So, unfortunately, we know how this is going to play out. We know what this is going to be. Someone is in massive debt. They're going to end up getting a paycheck from this, which from the looks of her, it's probably been several years since this has taken place that she was at Marine Corps boot camp. I don't think she just left to say, I'm waiting on a veteran affairs claim right now in order to make sure I get all my stuff documented. Now, granted, there are people that do suffer injuries that are in during boot camp. Those are real. They do happen. Unfortunately, we've actually had people that have died at military boot camps all across the country as well. Unfortunately, because there's just inherently bad things that can happen, even though we screen people at MEPS and do things like that. So, however, I find it crazy that this person is like, yes, I have this massive debt and I'm bad. And then they try and like get any level of leverage with Caleb on the show. And they're like, hey, I actually have a good point here. I'm a Marine Corps veteran and I don't have disability. But it's hilarious to me because Caleb has had so many veterans on this show, even from the earliest days when he was like maybe 10,000 subscribers when I followed him initially. It is nuts because this show exposes the veteran community, a lot of entitlement that can be there. And, you know, I understand a lot of people don't want to disclose their disabilities or whatever they are. And they have a right not to share that because that's personal health information. However, you are on this show to show that you have some level of impairment due to a disability. And because of that, you are being compensated. Now, you would think a lot of people would run with that and say, awesome, I'm getting $4,000 a month to not be disabled really as badly as I could have been because of the military.
What do you do for a living?
Well, I just got out of the military.
Against it. It just seems like.
But what happens with a lot of these guests are the fact that they currently are receiving $4,000 a month and they're not actually doing anything with it. Like, if you calculate $4,000 a month tax free, you are looking at $36,000, which would be almost equivalent of making a $50,000 job, which these people should be able to make if they are working by themselves. So they are not totally just, woe is me. I mean, this person could even work, if they got disability, a full-time job and still be making more than the average income that's out there. So while it is crazy this person trying to say that they're a veteran, it's crazier that they are trying to get VA disability after a couple months of Marine Corps boot camp. Again, I do say awesome to you if you do have a hand up and you signed up. I get it. But other than that, it's semantics at this point, splitting hairs and whatever and technicalities. But I think all that gets settled down in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think about this situation down below.